This is an orthokeratology case where there's some concern for corneal cylinder and undercorrection. The patient has a couple diopters still of residual myopia. And a couple things that come to mind when I'm looking at this case is the patient does have some asymmetric distribution of corneal cylinder. It's concentrated more inferiorly, and in the topography screenshots, that was also reflected there. That said, if we look at the corneal cyl, the patient has about a diopter and 3/4 with the rule, but in the refraction, there's only 3/4. So this patient has a fair amount of internal cylinder, and it's actually desirable to have some corneal cylinder residual to kind of negate the internal cylinder. If we sphericalize the cornea completely, then this patient would probably have a refraction of something -1, axis 90 or so, and that is not going to be an ideal visual outcome. So I don't think we would make a target of molding out all the corneal cylinder. Some of it would be fine, and if we can get rid of maybe half of that, and the patient had residual cylinder of half a diopter, quarter diopter, so should still be a very good visual outcome. The other thing I would recommend is, I think this is a child. I'm looking at the topographies. The apertures are really small. I'm guessing this is a child. And for the purpose of myopia control, I would reduce the OZ and the IC all the way down. I usually do a 5.6 and a 6.2. With an adult, that sometimes introduces some glare, and so I might do a 6.2 and 6.8. But I think where it is right now, we've got pretty big OZ, which will lend itself towards giving us a larger treatment zone, but in a smaller lens, in a 10.9 lens, it doesn't give us very much room in the periphery to align the lens. Looking at the topography itself, I also see there's a little bit of flattening superiorly and inferiorly, and I think that might be artifact. It does affect how our lens looks in the periphery. It looks like wave aligns it well vertically, and then horizontally there's a little bit of funny stuff going on. I wonder if that is artifact, and I'm not too familiar with the Medmont topographer. If there is an option to edit out unwanted dots, perhaps that would just smooth that out a little bit. So my general recommendations for this case is I don't think we need a toric zone. In fact, I would do a spherical treatment. It looks like we're trying to mold out some of the cylinder in the vertical meridian here with the higher topo demand. I would go completely spherical all the way around, smaller zone, and I think the patient does need a slightly higher overall topo demand. This particular lens is probably a little bit too steep to get full correction of myopia. I would expect to start on the order around a 9.0 or 9.1. So that said, I would I don't have the initial topography, so I would just kind of use this lens as a starting point. I have my basic ortho K lens in here. Again, if this is a child, I would do 5.6 and 6.2. We get much better, or better at least, I think, myopia control with a smaller zone. And kids usually don't really complain of glare and halos as much. I'm going to go with your original diameter of 10.9, and we'll leave the target at 150. I would also go GSIM. There's some asymmetry, but there's not enough there where I think we need a freeform lens. I think GSIM is just fine. Should line up very well still. So given that, I'm going to hit continue, and this will give us a new lens. Okay, so this is the lens that Wave's giving us. I shorten the OZ. As far as edge alignment goes, if we look, it looks like the superior and inferior meridians are better aligned. And if I'm working under the assumption that this is artifact, then I'm going to try to line the horizontal meridian instead. So what we want is good touch right at the back of the optic or the reverse curve. And 2 to 3 microns of central clearance. Okay, this lens is a little bit flatter. The demand I might bump a tiny bit. So we're about a 9.1 base curve lens now. So I would try this lens design on the patient. It should center well and reduce the total residual myopia that was there. And I would make a very similar lens for the left eye. I think GSIM is fine, smaller OZ and IC, and then align the horizontal meridian to get as much touch across the peripheral and periphery of the lens as possible. In the left eye, again, I think the base curve will be pretty close to 9 or 9.1. So this helps your patient. Best of luck, and thanks for watching.